If you think your house is safe just because your company's limited, you could be dead wrong. I've sat with directors across the UK who assumed they were protected. They didn't understand overdrawn directors' loan accounts. They didn't really understand personal guarantees. And they never understood what tax debts could actually put them really at risk. There are directors out there who've lost everything. They ignore the warning signs, they don't ask for help, and they can end up bankrupt. Another director I've worked with came to us early. We helped him walk away cleanly. He kept his house and he rebuilt his life. Today, I'm going to show you exactly how to avoid losing your home and the steps you can take right now to protect yourself. In this video, I'm going to break down when your home is actually at risk, what liquidators and HMRC can and can't do, the real meaning of directors' loans, bounce back loan and CBILS fraud, how PGs and personal liabilities can also put you in the firing line. And I'm going to round it up with a 5-step director protection plan to walk away clean. This is not about panic, it's about precision. So, biggest myth out there, I'm not personally liable. Most directors believe it's the company's debt, I'm safe. Partly true, but let's say you've signed a PG or an overdrawn director's loan account, or you've misused a government loan, or you ignore HMRC. You, if any of those things have happened, can become personally liable. And when that happens, your house, your savings, and your peace of mind are all on the line. Now let's unpack that all. You see, being a limited company, it does give you legal separation. But when that barrier is pierced, and it could be a bad accounting decision, it could be misdeclarations, wrongful behavior, taking all the money out, doing something stupid, you as the director can become personally responsible for the fallout. Now, we've seen directors who didn't even realize they were doing anything wrong. They thought they were just keeping things afloat, but by not declaring the way that they're taking money properly or transferring funds from their company to their personal accounts, they've created things called overdrawn directors' loan balances. And the worst thing is they had no way of repaying the money when the business went under. And here's the thing. An insolvency practitioner are required by law to pursue overdrawn directors' loan accounts. They don't have a choice. And that's when you go from director to defendant. If you don't act fast, it spirals. Now, I've been really public about how I think there's a better way of doing this, but I want to make it clear. When a director is being pursued for an overdrawn director's loan account, the liquidator is not doing anything wrong. They're doing what they're meant to do. They're there to try and recover some funds for creditors. What I think is you should just be told about it up front, and you can be if you follow this advice. Let me give you an example, okay? Let's say you've been drawing £5,000 a month for the last year, but you don't declare it as salary. It's like £5,000 a month that you call a dividend, right? So that's 60 grand over the year. And you'll probably think, right, I'll sort it later. And when you're making money, you can sort of get away with that rationale because as long as you're making a profit, the idea at the end of the year, your accountant declares dividends from the distributable profits. You pay the personal tax, your business pays some corporation tax. But if your business hits trouble, okay, so it's become insolvent, you're not making a profit, that 60 grand that you've taken out of the business, there's a good chance the business couldn't afford to pay it yet. And it then gets converted to a director's loan account that's overdrawn. And it's a debt that you owe the company. Now, let's say your company then ends up in liquidation. The insolvency practitioner will either see it on your balance sheet or they will see it once they start investigating after they've been appointed. And they're going to say, an overdrawn director's loan. That is an asset to recover. And they're going to send a letter demanding payment. And if you don't respond, you bury your head in the sand. This is where things can get out of hand and it can end up in bankruptcy. Now, once you're bankrupt, there's a thing called an official receiver. And the official receiver or the trustee in bankruptcy, they take over your assets. That includes your family home. This is something to be seriously aware of. And they can force a sale to recover what's owed. And that's even if you've got your partner living in there and your kids living in there. Now, that's not fear mongering. It happens, okay? It's happening right now, and it's happening to people who didn't realize what the problem was. Now, another issue that directors are facing in 2025 is something called a personal liability notice. Now, HMRC can issue PLN, and this means that you personally become liable for the tax debt of the company. And the HMRC generally use personal liability notices when they believe you've knowingly failed to pay PAYE or VAT, or you've used the money for other purposes, or you've continued to carry on trading much past the point of insolvency. And their logic, the way they argue amongst themselves, is you've made the decision not to pay the taxes, so you should bear the consequences. And let's say they issue a PLM for £100,000 of unpaid VAT. You, the director, owe that personally, okay? They've pierced the veil of incorporation and they're coming at you. And if you can't pay it, they can go for enforcement, charging orders against your house, attachments of earnings, bailiffs. Bankruptcy is an option. And again, your house is back on the table, especially post-COVID, because I don't know if you're noticing it out there, but HMRC are really tightening the screws. They're cracking down on perceived abuse. Another issue, personal guarantees. Listen, you might have signed a PG years ago and forgotten about it. And it could have been a supplier asking you to personally back a credit line. It could be a landlord asking you for security on the lease. So you're basically saying, listen, I'm signing this 5-10 year lease, but I'm going to personally guarantee it. So if the business goes under, I'm on the line. You could have signed personal guarantees on dilapidations of leases. So let's say you move out of a premises, you might have spent loads of money getting the premise up to scratch, but when the landlord takes back control, they want the property being put back to the same condition. That could cost you a fortune. Banks are requesting personal guarantees on RLS loans. You know, could be credit cards, could be overdrafts. And a lot of directors assume, they go, well, it was for the company. Can't chase me personally. But the minute the company defaults, the PG kicks in. I mean, I've had directors in tears come to me who are being chased for RLS loans that they thought were government backed. You know, worse still, some personally guaranteed lenders can fast track legal proceedings. You get a let before claim, can't court judgment, then there's enforcement. And again, they can secure charges against your house. And that's going to make it a problem if you try and remortgage or if you try and sell. Stuck. Some of these PGs that are uber aggressive will even try and force a sale. And the key message is, if you've signed a PG, you owe that money, not the company. Another problem for people is bounce back loan and CBILS fraud, and what an insolvency practitioner is looking for. Okay, bounce back loans were rushed out. Okay, people are catching up and they're looking for turnover inflation. If you said you earned 200 grand when it was 20 grand to get a larger bounce back loan, that's misrepresentation. You could only apply for 25% of the turnover in 2019. Like if you was a non-trading company, if you applied for the bounce back loan, but you weren't trading before 2020, that's a huge red flag. That is something that you potentially could be made personally liable for. Obviously, we've heard all the directors who have spent the bounce back loans personally. They've gone on home upgrades, holidays, personal debt. It's classed as misuse, guys. And if that's you, that is another area where you could be in the firing line. And the firing line looks like either the insolvency practitioner is coming at you, they are trying to make a claim against you personally, or we're seeing a lot more compensation orders. And that's where people have knowingly been at it with bounce back loans and CBILS, and they're being made personally liable. Okay, it's very, very hard to get out of this. If you've done something like this, you've got huge problems. What I want to talk about now is like a director first 5-step protection plan. And this is what I want to give every client to try and stay safe. Now, step one, you need to get clarity, and you need to get clarity fast. A good place to start is your accountant for a current balance sheet. The problem with that, though, is if the only thing you get is your accounts, your year-end accounts, they're generally well out of date. So let's say your accounts were April 2024, and that's the last record you've got of your balance sheet. That's a big problem, Because in your last set of accounts, if you have a look on the asset section or the debtor section or the director's advance section, it will show whether you have a director's loan account or not. The problem is a lot has happened since this time last year. So what I'm advising you all to do is to actually get a bookkeeper or use a accounting software like Xero, QuickBooks or Sage. And if you pull off a balance sheet, it will show where your director's loan account sits. If you're going into insolvency, understanding this one thing could save you a fortune, could stop you losing your house. Now, once you've got that director's loan account figure, can you reduce it? Is there any expenses that you can put against that director's loan, like receipts that you've not claimed for, mileage you've not claimed for, to bring that director's loan account down? Now, if you're not speaking to your accountant, you don't understand, you don't have any management information, or it's a mess, like please just reach out to us. We can help you understand where your director's loan account is. Because once you've got a director's loan that's overdrawn and you understand that figure, that's the time to start speaking to the insolvency practitioner, because they're going to come to you for that director's loan account once you appoint the liquidator. You might not like me, I don't take things personally, but please don't be somebody who watches my content and doesn't apply any of it. I had a director the other day, I've helped him for months, he's decided to work with another firm. It's okay, happens. But this other firm hasn't got into the level of detail. The reason why I didn't put him into liquidation 2 months ago is we had to try and figure out this director's loan problem. And he's ignored all my advice and he's appointed another firm. Now, the skeptic in me thinks that other firm knows about this overdrawn loan account and they are going to come to him once they've been appointed, which is what they're meant to do. What I'm saying to you is the best way of dealing with this is speaking to the insolvency practitioner early, going to them saying, listen, this is my overdrawn loan account. This is my ability to repay. If you've got lots of equity in property, you've got a big problem because it's harder to deal with. That insolvency practitioner could make a recovery from you. If you bury your head in your sand, that's where bankruptcy can happen. So in most cases, you'll be able to get some type of negotiated settlement with an insolvency practitioner where you get a discount on paying the overdrawn director's loan, or you can get some extended terms to pay it over a longer period of time. But the key thing is you'll need to understand your position before you appoint the insolvency practitioner. Again, this is our speciality. If you're worried about overdrawn loan accounts and you've got some equity in your property, please pick the phone up. Another thing is stop digging the hole. Be careful. Don't pay one creditor over another. So if you've got like personally guaranteed debt and you've got some cash in the business, don't be clearing your personally guaranteed debt before you appoint the liquidator. Don't be paying your mum back before HMRC, because if you do that, you're going to be accused of a preference payment. And again, that's another area that you could be sued personally. Here's a key thing. Don't keep trading if you've no realistic recovery available to you. If you know in your heart of hearts that this is never going to turn around and you continue to trade, you could be accused of trading insolvently. And again, it's where an action can be brought against you personally. Any action against you being brought against you personally is obviously where your house is on the line. Another step I want to talk to you about is don't try and strike a company off if you've got any COVID debt. If you had a bounce back loan or receivables, you will not be able to strike the company off, despite what people say out there on the internet. It's seen as evasive, triggers more scrutiny. It's a huge problem. Step 4, use a proper process. Okay, if the business is no longer, maybe you need to consider a liquidation. That's an orderly wind down. You appoint an insolvency practitioner, close the company down safely and legally. Or if there's a hope that this business can be rescued and taken forward, perhaps consider something like an administration. Administration is better suited for larger companies with staff, contracts, and that there's a viable business in there. But you've got to do this voluntarily, okay? Don't wait to be wound up. Getting wound up by a creditor is almost always the worst scenario possible, because the first thing that the official receiver is going to say to you is, you've not behaved properly as a director. You saw this problem coming months and months ago, and you buried your head in the sands, and you've waited for a creditor to wind you up. Okay? You can prepare, protect, and reduce your personal exposure to insolvency. But this is all about step 5. You've got to get someone to help you. Okay? You don't need to face this alone. Now, we help you, and this is where we're different. We help you understand everything. We help you understand what your problem is, what the solution is, and what pitfalls there are by you going into insolvency. Because guess what? A lot of directors make huge mistakes. They appoint a liquidator without understanding what the personal consequences are. And what we do is we help you understand that. There's a lady that we spoke to called Sarah. I'm not going to go into the specifics too much, but she had a catering company, she owed a bounce back loan, she owed HMRC. She didn't realise that the drawings that she was taking out, they weren't salary. She'd been insolvent for a couple of years. It incurred a director's loan account. No one's ever flagged it to her. She's spoken to another few firms. No one had mentioned it to her. One firm was offering to buy her company. I told her to run a mile. And we helped to review the books, and we helped to understand that she did have an overdrawn director's loan account. And before she appointed us, we went to the insolvency practitioner and said, listen, this is our best offer based on the equity in a house, the mortgage, the personal debt that she's got. We know if you went into bankruptcy, you'd get that much, and she's offering you more than that. And they accepted it. Now, today she's self-employed. She's pretty much debt-free, and she's sleeping again better. And that's what we do. That's what's possible when you act early. Your house isn't automatically protected just because you're a director. But as long as you act early, act now with the right plan, you can protect it. And here's what to do. Now, listen, you can download our free insolvency cheat sheet. It's in the comment section below. You can book a one-to-one confidential call. No pressure, just clarity. Please subscribe, get more real practical advice. We do videos 3 or 4 times a week. Don't wait until a liquidator comes knocking. Don't wait for a CCJ. Don't wait for a bankruptcy petition. Let's protect your future together, starting now. My name's Chris Worden. I'm from Director First. Thanks for your time. God bless. Bye-bye.